Hello everybody, thanks for joining us today. What a nice sound we get from the DGX here. That's some of the piano and pad sounds that I've been playing with while we've been waiting to go live, and I wasn't going to talk about them in the video. I've got something else planned, but I have to mention those at some point. And I saved some of the nice ones into a registration bank, which if you own a DGX670 at home, you can have. Just let me know and I'll email them to you. But hello to everybody, and thanks for joining us. Thank you for supporting us again today by coming to watch live. It's the Yamaha DGX670 that I've got, and I want to say hello to everybody watching and supporting us again, but hello to you if you're watching for the first time today as well. We're doing this at least a couple of times a week on various different instruments, and we want to answer your questions. Send them in via email or use the chat, and I'm going to stop occasionally and look at my laptop and see your questions. But thanks for joining us. I want to say hello to a few people, first of all, that have joined us today. Hello, Brian, watching from the Isle of Wight. And I'm going to play my usual competition of seeing who's watching from the furthest distance from the shop here in Banbury in Oxfordshire. It might be Alan Hickman, again in Missouri. Hello, Alan, thanks for joining us. Glad you had a nice breakfast. And hello, This M, watching from the Netherlands, welcome. Hello Terence again for joining us, thank you. Dennis watching from Newcastle under Lyme, hello Dennis. Paris Office, are you watching for the first time? Paris, we've not seen your name on the chat before, and I see your questions and I'll answer those later, but welcome, thanks for joining us, Paris. Karen Dane, thank you. Thank you for joining us, Karen. I will answer that question. Who else have we got? Mr. Clitheroe. Hello, Mr. Clitheroe. Thanks for joining us. Hello, Andy Long, my friend. Purswell. It's an unusual YouTube name, but welcome. Kevin. Thank you. Welcome. Malcolm Atkinson. Welcome to you. Brian. Yeah, Brian, I will send you the registrations. Thank you, everybody. But don't type your email into the chat, please, because we want to keep it private. Send us an email to sales@ePianos.co.uk. You can get it via our website, or just mention that. Actually, you're going to have to do that. Send us an email through to our regular website, but don't write your email in our live chat because other people will be able to see it. Hello, hello, Zad Zagdrak. Welcome. Thank you. I wonder if you're watching for the first time, Zad, because I've not seen your name before. Hello, Martin from Sandbach. Hello, Jeff. Jeff from the Isle of Wight. So I think it's our American friends are winning the distance from the shop competition this time. And Kelly GYN Studio MIDI. Welcome. I can't read what you've written. It looks like it's in a foreign language, but welcome all the same. Okay, now I should get on with what I was going to talk about today on this particular piano. I do have something I've set out that I want to show you, and it's to do with the way that we control the backing accompaniments on this piano. As you know, there's hundreds of different styles of musical backing. I will refer to them as styles, and when I say styles, I mean the musical accompaniments that this piano will give to us to play. So within the styles, you have different ways of controlling them, and you've probably encountered this in the manual. Things like single-fingered and multi-fingered and AI-fingered, full keyboard. And I want to talk first of all a little bit about what the differences are between those and which one might suit you best. I was having a play before we went live, and there's some really clever technology going on in there that I want to share with you. So let's have a top-down view, Charlie, and while my hand is here, I'm going to remind you, could you all please just go to the little thumbs up below this video if you don't mind, and leave a thumbs up, because that really helps our videos get seen on YouTube. Thank you if you do that. So the fingering styles are what they call, or the style controls, and you'll be able to see them in fact, give me that slightly wider shot, would you, Charlie? Because the quickest way to get to them, everybody, would be by pressing this button here that's direct access, and then the ACMP button. Okay, now you can get there within the menu by going to menu and then split point and chord fingering, but the direct access button here is a sort of a shortcut way of getting to these settings. So I'm going direct access, then pressing accompaniment, and now let's go tight on the screen, Charlie. And what we're seeing here now is the chord fingering types. Now, you notice there's quite a list of them here, right? And it does give a slight explanation of what each of them do. While I'm saying this, please let us know if you can hear us okay, by the way, my talking and the piano. The single fingered style is probably the most basic way to use this, and what this allows you to do is literally play with one finger, or on your left hand anyway, one finger to control the backing styles, and it allows you to play the minor variations and the seventh and a minor seventh just by using two fingers. And I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to choose a style of music, and I'll go with just the basic contemporary pop and set this up to play an accompaniment. Okay, and what I'm going to do, you can see my hand here, I'm going to play a C on as the root note, and when I do, the accompaniment starts. Oh, hang on, actually, you know, I just want to check that I've got it set to the right one. Single finger, that's right. There we go. Wait a minute, hang on. This doesn't seem to be working how I wanted it to. There we go. So come tight on the screen again, Charlie. So when I play a C, a root note, it will be automatically completing the chord. And give me a slightly wider shot, Charlie, of the piano. So I'm just playing the C note, but it is completing for me the rest of the chord triad here. Okay, and if I go to F, it completes for me the rest of the chord triad. G, F, back to C. Okay, now if I want to play the C seventh, what you do, in fact this is written on the screen, if we go tight on the screen again, if we want to play the minor, this is very clever, you play the root note, in this case the C, plus the next key, the black key to the left. That will give you the minor, which will sound like this. So I'm playing the root note and the first black note to the left. If I wanted to play the seventh, I'd play the root note and the white key to the left. Okay, so now we're getting C seventh, and if I do all three together, we get the C minor seventh, like this. Choose myself a better piano. And that works, of course, for any note. So that is the single finger style. Control. Now, give me tight on the screen again, Charlie, and I'll show what the multi-finger does. Subtle difference with this one. Multi-finger allows us to play in exactly the way that a single finger allowed us, but it will also allow me to play full chords if I want to. So if I'm feeling lazy, I can play just the root note and it'll complete the chord for me, but I am now able to play the whole chord, or indeed variations like the ninth or the sixth. And can you hear that difference? Seventh, go to the F inversion, F9, back to the C9. Now the trouble with single fingered, the first one that we tried, is you can't do those variations like the ninth and the sixth and the diminished and things like that. You're limited with single fingered to just the major, C major, the C minor, the C7th, and the C minor 7th. So it gives you some good chords, but it's a little bit limiting. It's a little bit limiting on there. Come back tight on the screen again, Charlie, and I'll show what this one does. Because it can, pardon me, it can be a bit confusing. Single fingered, multi-fingered, fingered. What are all the differences about? That's what this video is for. There are some interesting ones here with fingered, because if you press more than 3 keys, the chord is detected. So it's only going to trigger a chord if you're actually playing 3 notes. If you do just 1 note, you won't get any chords at all. But there's also something cool you can do with this one, and I want to show you this one. Let's have a wide piano shot. I'm going to play that C again, and what's happening is I'm not getting any chords backing at all because I'm only playing 1 note. But if I play 3 notes, I get this. And notice again, I can do the 6th if I want to, and the 9th and the variations. But if I just play 1 note, 3 together, this happens. Come tight on the screen again, Charlie. It says cancel. Now this is kind of cool, because if I'm using the right type of style, for example, there's a funk one on here I saw not long ago. Now if I'm using funk pop rock, for example, and we're going to variation C and things are getting quite full with the accompaniment, I can do the little trick where I press 3 notes together. It doesn't matter what notes they are, and we get this. Here we go. Ready? 3 notes together. It kills all of the musical accompaniment, and we just get the drum. So I can do my own drum solo. Go 3 notes together. Okay, so that's what the one called fingered does, just fingered on its own. But it gets better than that as well. As we go down the list here, if we come tight on the screen again, Charlie, fingered on bass is where things start getting quite juicy, because as you know, in a lot of music, the bass note that plays is not always the root note. Part of the joy of music is the way you can mix up the bass note and the chord that's playing, and this is what fingers on bass allows you to do. You can control what that bass note is doing while you play the piano. But I'm just going to say hello to a few people first. Who else is joining us here? Ian Sorensen, welcome Ian. Second day with your new DGX and you just managed to get it switched on. Well, I'd say that's progress. Well done. You're still getting to grips with the styles, Karen. I understand. I'll do my best to help. Hello Jeremy, thanks for joining us. And Brian, I use the system all the time whilst I can read the left hand. I'm unable to play chords never have been taught. I use multi-fingered. Yeah, I understand. Okay, now I want to just end our poll and see what the results are. I asked people watching whether you're watching for the first time or not. I'll wait for the results to come in. But let us move on to fingered on bass. Let's go tight on the screen again, please, Charlie. Fingered on bass. Now, this is the same as fingered, except that this allows us to play the on bass chords, as I said, so we can have a different rolling bass line while the chords play something different. Now, what is it that triggers that bass note? Well, the answer is it's the note you play in the chord control section that's furthest to the left. I'll give you an example. If I choose a ballad style, let's go with something like this, a modern pop ballad. Yep, that will do. So what I'm going to do, in order to get a G rolling bass, I'm going to have to play a G triad like this, and if I want a D with a F sharp bass, I'm going to need to play an inversion of D like this. So I'm going to start off with a G triad, and then I'm going to go to a D inversion where the F sharp is the furthest note to the left, and listen to what the difference is. Can you hear that? I'll go to E minor now. I'm going to go to G7 with a D bass. And C. Back to D. Back to G. Now that inversion of a D again. Okay, now if I hadn't have done that inversion, if I'd have just played the regular D triad, then the D, the change between G and D would have sounded like this. Listen to the bass. You hear how that is playing the D note. Okay. Now if I wanted to, if I do the D inversion with my furthest note to the left is the F sharp, then we get this. In fact, we can go tight on the screen, Charlie. You can see it displayed. I hope you can see this. When I play the chord, it comes up just in the corner of that box. Watch. G, D with the F sharp bass. There it is. E minor. One more time. And I tell you what, it takes a bit of getting used to, because I went back to playing a G inversion for that last chord there, and of course the problem is, if you have a top-down view, Charlie, the problem is I'm doing this inversion of a G, but the D here is the furthest one to the left, so I'm getting a D on the bass with a G, which isn't what I wanted at all. But that is how fingered on bass works. Okay, now the next one on the list is called full keyboard, and this is a very, very good one for people with a piano playing background, like myself. And you probably, if you see me demoing one of the pianos, I'm likely using full keyboard. Why? It's because unlike the other types of style control, all 88 keys will be making a piano sound. As you know, when you had it on fingered on bass or single fingered, multi-fingered, the piano actually cuts off at an F sharp somewhere on the left, and it's called a split point, where the left hand side of the keyboard becomes your style backing control. With full keyboard, every single note of the piano will be piano, but I can still control the backing. All I have to do is make sure that I'm playing at least 3 notes from the chord that I want the band to play. Okay, I'll give you a quick example of that. If I choose, I'm going to just choose some random styles on here to give you an example of what the piano can do, and I've not rehearsed this, so this might sound a bit funny, but we'll give it a go. So this is controlling the piano using full keyboard, and watch how I'm going to play the full range of the piano. I want to change that to something else because it's only a little bit more upbeat. Let's have this one. So what full keyboard is allowing me to do is play the full length of the piano and still control the backing music. Now you may have detected it doesn't always quite give you the backing that you like, because you are required to play at least 3 notes, and if you're a sort of improv style pianist like I am, you don't always play 3 notes, so it doesn't always give you the response you want. Now very usefully, there's a bit of technology in here called AI full keyboard, artificial intelligence full keyboard, and this works better if you like the idea of playing with the whole keyboard with your accompaniments, just like I was doing there, because the artificial intelligence listens to the notes that you're playing, for example C, which I practically play in all the time, and it says, okay, well, now that I know you're playing a C, I'm going to make sure that if you go to something near an A minor or a D, then I'm going to give you something that's going to fit into that chord, what am I trying to say, that signature. It's going to suit the music that you're playing. It listens to the last chord that you played and it makes up its mind for you what should be coming next, so it sounds a little bit more musical. I'll give you a quick example of it. The same style, playing a full keyboard, but this time we're using AI full keyboard rather than a regular full keyboard. Okay, so as you can hear, that was making some decisions for me as I was going along. For example, it actually gave me the bass note on one of those chords, not on the root note. So I was playing a C and it thought, okay, well I can see just playing an E in the left hand and a C in the right hand. So it gave me an E bass with a C chord. That's what AI fingered can do. Now let me just say hello to a few people that might be watching here. Who's with us today? Who else is with us? Tommy, hello. VBDX66, thanks for joining us. Hello, Kevin. Are you really watching from the swimming pool in Jamaica, Kevin? Are you really? Send us a picture. Kevin and Ed Bookus watching from the Philippines. Welcome, Ed. Thanks for joining us. If you're joining us for the first time today, thank you very much for supporting us, and I hope you like these videos. Please give us a little thumbs up. Underneath where I am on the screen, there's a little thumbs up on YouTube. Please, could you press that? It really helps our videos get seen. It's a good way of supporting us, and we really appreciate it. Thank you. Right, shall I move on to the next one on here, which was AI fingered. Now AI fingered on here, I did skip one actually, but I'll go back to this. AI fingered works the same way as fingered, in that I can if I want just play with a single finger if I'm feeling lazy, or indeed if I've only got one finger. In fact, I learnt most of how this works from a friend of mine who had damaged his hand, and he ended up playing, he could only play the whole keyboard with essentially one finger, so he had to change the way he played to control the backing style. And that's why AI fingered works quite well, because again it uses the artificial intelligence to sort of anticipate what chord you're going to play next, and it can give you bass note not on the root note if you want it to. So I can do a rolling bass line. I'm going to give you an example. Let's go into a different type of ballad. So something like a 70s piano hit. This is set up with, whoops, just a reminder, AI fingered. So if I want to, I can play with just one finger and the accompaniment will play. Sorry, 3 fingers. Now, where this alters is while I do have to play the whole chord, I can then just play, I'm playing a C here, I can then, if I want to, just play the C and the B together, and it will give me a C with a B in the bass, like this. Oh, you know what comes to mind? You get the idea. I'm sorry I completely murdered that tune, but that was just off the top of my head. But that is how AI fingered works. It does give you some control over the bass line without having to do too many gymnastics with your hand as well. So, oh, hang on a minute. VBDX670. Could you do an excerpt of Whitest Shade of Pale? I just did. There you go. I'm sorry I ruined it, by the way, but it does work. That's probably the best best fingering style to use if you're going to play Whitest Shade of Pale or Air on a G string or anything that has an unusual bass line or a different bass line to just playing the root notes. Andy Long, my friend Andy Long in Reading, says, "Thank you so much for doing Figgery today. It's a light bulb moment for me. As you know, I've been pestering you and David for a while." Yeah, that is true, Andy, and I did have you in mind when I set up this video, so I'm hoping this is helpful to you. And just type in a question if you have one, Andy. Okay. Right. Eric McDonald, watching from Nova Scotia, Canada. Might need someone to test the distance from the store, because is Nova Scotia going to be further than Michigan? Charlie, look that up, will you? We'll see. We'll see whether Eric wins the competition of watching furthest from the store. While Charlie's looking into that, I will move on. If we can have a tight shot on the screen, please, Charlie. Let us change to AI full keyboard. We did, didn't we? Smart Chord. Now, what's that all about? This is for the very, very lazy player. It's probably not quite the right thing for me to say there, but it is a way of really, really exploiting the artificial intelligence on this piano, because you're getting very close to programming it to play what you want to play for you, but you still have some live control over it. Now, what do I mean by that? I think I'm going to have to give you an example to really explain it, but come tight on the screen again, please, Charlie, because I want to explain what these bits here say. Key, signature and type. Now, we need to tell the keyboard what key signature we're playing in here, and we need to tell, and you can choose that here. Look, I'm going to keep it on C major, and the type as well, because the type does vary. We have different genres of music: standard, pop, jazz, dance, simple. Now, with standard, if I chose a, let's say a, what style should we have? Acoustic rock. Let's go for acoustic rock. Okay, so with it set up as C major in a standard way, smart chord. Now basically this is going to allow me to play with a single finger again, just like this. But did you notice that? Now if this was the normal single fingered, when I play this note it would be playing an A major. But because the artificial intelligence is working for us, plus we've told the piano we're playing in C major, then that means it's actually going to give us an A minor, which fits into the key of C. And if I played a D, it won't play a D major, it will play a D minor, because that's in the key of C. So there I am, just playing with one finger, and it's giving me a backing that's appropriate for that key, and all done with one finger. Now, where it starts getting really interesting is if we were to change the style of music. Let's go tight on the screen again, please. The type of music on here to something else like pop, then it's likely to give me a different set of chords. Yeah, in fact, now that I've set it to pop, and just to be clear on the screen there, there we are, look, so the key is still C major, but the type is pop. Okay, now when I play a C slightly wider piano shot, please, and if I play just the C root note now, it's not going to give me a C major, it's actually going to give me something a bit more poppy. In this case, it's going to give me a C9. And indeed the F turns into an F major 7th. The A, which was previously in the standard mode an A minor, is now giving me an A minor 7th. And it's the same with the D minor, it's giving me a D minor 7th instead of just a regular D minor. So it's altering the type of chord that it's giving me because of the genre of music I'm telling it to play. Now the one I had a bit of fun with earlier was the jazz one. This kind of, if you choose a jazz style, this works quite nicely. So I'm going to go into the style section and choose, what shall we have? Jazz guitar? Yeah, let's go Jazz Guitar Club. And let's set the key to C major again, but the type I'm going to change to jazz. Okay, now let's see what this does. Okay, on the screen where you can see the chord. So first of all, just playing the root note of C, and that's sounding very jazzy. When I change to the F, it's actually giving me an F6 and with a 9th, and the A minor is an A minor 7th with an 11th on top. So we're in jazz country here. So the piano is now requiring very little from me in terms of inputs with my left hand telling the keyboard what to do, and it's using the artificial technology to try and make up for what I'm not doing. So for some accompaniments like that, it works really well. And if you're playing piano in a hotel lounge, or you're playing at a live event or something like that, and you just need to fill out some music, then that's a really good way of doing it, particularly if it's in a genre you're not perhaps so comfortable in. The piano can do a bit of the legwork for you. Okay, let me say hello to a few people. Hello, Roger Lee from Missouri. We seem to have a few viewers from Missouri. Thanks for joining us, Roger. Karen Dane, you might be the furthest. We'll see. I think I can see Charlie on the computer with his distance measurement. Let me see. Oh, hang on. Looks like today's winner of the furthest away from the store is actually Karen Dane over at Mauritius. 6,112 miles. Well, there we go. Can anyone beat that? Excellent. Well done, Karen. Saga Skills. Hi, Chris. Ashok here, enjoying your information. Bought a DGX670 from me in March. Well, thank you very much for that. I'm glad this is useful. In case you didn't know, all of our customers, we try and keep them filled with this information every week. We send a email out to all of our customers that are on our mailing list every Saturday with information, guides, etc. So you don't have to be a customer to sign up to that, by the way. Just go on our website and you can sign up. Okay, so I'm running slightly over time now, so let me see what I've got to show you next. Where were we? We did smart chord and we showed the different types of music. What was the other thing that I wanted to do? I wanted to say that as a pianist, the type of accompaniment that I like, the one I've really got comfortable using, is AI full keyboard, because it allows me to play the full range of the piano like I'm playing a traditional piano, and the keyboard is kind of picking up what I'm playing and it's giving me an appropriate backing. You may have noticed within the styles that some of them, if we can go tight on the screen here, and I'm going to keep this fairly brief, some of them have got the word adaptive above them, and what this means is, I'm just trying to find one. There's one called classic, that's the one. Now what adaptive means is, again, it's using some very clever artificial intelligence to give me a band accompaniment, a backing group, but instead of controlling the adaptive ones by pressing the variation ABC buttons, this type of style will respond to how hard I'm hitting the keys. And it works really nicely if you're playing a ballad, because in the first verse of a song you might start off playing very gently, and then as you play a bit harder and the notes become more frequent, the piano picks that up and it says, okay, I'm going to change the style now, not to something completely different, but it's going to change the variation, so more drums and more strings will come in. And I discovered today there's a nice visualization of this, which I want to demonstrate to you by playing a bit of a song. So have a look on the screen, tight on the screen please, and classic piano ballad is the one I'm choosing. And have a look at this. Now this is going to show you as I'm playing what you'll recognize this A, B, C, D from the main variation style control buttons. A being good for the first verse of a song, and then D being good for the climax of the song, crescendo, the chorus. There are two variations in between. Now as I'm playing the piano, as I start to play a little bit harder, you'll notice on that screen that it'll begin to gradually go up to B and C and D, and then as I play softer again it'll go back down, and you'll hear how the style changes. So this is called an adaptive style, and it's good for a song like this. I'm just going to choose my favorite ambient piano. Have a listen. I realise that I haven't changed it from... Oh no, I have. I'm still on full keyboard. That is exactly what I wanted. So let us go back to that. You see how it's grading up. We get to B and more drums come in. Going up to C, and I'm controlling this. If I choose to play softly now, it goes backwards. Now I play a bit harder now, and you'll see it ramping up. See if we can take it all the way to the top. Bring it back down now, just by playing softly. Now harder. So that's what an adaptive style does, and it's quite a nice way to play. You can tweak it slightly, so in order to get those changes, you don't have to play so hard. I was really whacking it somewhat to get up to variation D there, so I could have changed the sensitivity if I wanted a little bit. Let's have a look and see who's saying what. I am running out a bit of time, but I know there were some questions that I do want to cover on there, so let's have a look. Yeah, it would be good if there was a chord looper on there. I agree. Hello Roger. Narangsak Sirant, I bought my DGX670 today. It's amazing at this price. Yeah, it is, isn't it? I think this is probably the best value for money piano that Yamaha make. And I used to own one. In fact, go on our website blog and I write all about the DGX and how I've had one for over a decade, right, you know, amongst other pianos, but I really loved them. I think they're very good value for money. Okay. Right, okay, maybe Flo says maybe Imagine should be the next song we cover. Flo did some singing over the top of the DGX backings. If you look at our other YouTube videos on our website, you'll see Flo singing while she did a Fleetwood Mac cover while I played some of the backings on the piano. Now, because I'm running a little bit out of time, I just want to show you some of these sounds that I've made, which I can share with you as well. Let's have a tight shot on the piano again, on the screen, please, Charlie. Now, what I made was some very simple registrations using the piano and some of the synth pads, and I'd urge you to explore some of these synth pads, because not only are they great sounds in their own right, but when you combine them with the piano, they really fill things out and give the piano a really big sound that's kind of like a movie soundtrack. What they sound like is and there's loads to choose from on here. But those are some of them on their own, and I could sit here all day and do this, but I'm running out of time. But I've combined some with pianos, and I'm just going to play a little bit for you. The 4 registrations that I've made, if we could have a slightly wider shot here. Now, I've saved them into my registrations here, and David's previous live stream with the DGX was all about how to save your settings, anything that you've programmed, into these registration settings if you want. So do watch that if you want to know how to save your settings on there. But this is just 4 sounds I've combined while I was warming up for this show that I'm offering to you for free. As a viewer, you don't have to be a customer of ours. If you want these settings and you have a DGX, just email us through our website. Please don't write your email address in the live chat. Send us an email and say, can I have those registrations that Chris did in the live stream, and I'll email them to you. You can put them on a USB stick and then put them in your own DGX. So the first one is just piano and what's called a hot swell pad. And can you hear how that builds up? Even when you play once and hold your hands on there, the sound swells up. And it's just a really nice way to just play the piano without any accompaniments, but using some of the really top quality sounds that are built into it. Number 2 is the ambient piano again with another pad, synth pad called New Atmosphere. And number 3 on there is what I've been able to do with number 3 is actually combine 3 sounds together. As you DGX owners might know, you've only got the ability on this piano, at first glance anyway, to have 2 sounds layered on top of each other. But there are some preset sounds built into it that actually give you 2 layers already in a single voice. And what it is called Piano Orchestra, and you can find it in the piano section just here. There it is. and on page 3 you've got piano orchestra. This gives us piano and strings in one single voice, which means we're then free to add the layer voice on top, which I've done with a pad called Time Travel. So now we get this sound. And I just love the effects that have gone into this one, with a slight bell, out of tune bell in there. And I love music for Netflix shows and movie soundtracks that really build a feel to what you're watching. And I compose music for things like that quite often, just for fun, because it's nice to experiment with this type of music that can really change a mood. Number 4 on here is using Pearl's pad and analog pad. And again, this one is panning a little bit. So there's a little bit of Enya going on in there as well, with those sort of breathy pads. There's so much on this piano, there really is. And this is just what I found in the warm-up to doing this live stream. So those registrations that I've made and just played, you're welcome to have them. Please try them in your own piano. Just send us an email, say that you'd like them, and I'll email them through. So I'm just about coming up to the hour now, so let me just answer a few questions if I can. Now, Paris office, you asked me, can I change the one-touch setting instruments assigned to certain style on my DGX? I haven't been able to find a way to change the one-touch settings, but you can do it in registration memory. In fact, that would probably be the best way to do it, to set up the keyboard how you want it, but then save it in registration memories. The one-touch settings, we could do a whole video on them, I think, but essentially they're a way of using the piano's AI to decide what voice on the right-hand side suits the type of backing that you're using. And on some keyboards you can program them, but registration memory might be the best way for this one. Let me just check for other questions. Karen Darn, can you use Yamaha's online pianist with the DGX670? If you mean the Smart Pianist app, then the answer is no at the moment. I don't know whether Yamaha will update it to allow us to control the DGX with it. That would be really good, I think. That would be fun. But they might decide not to. They might decide that the screen that we control DGX with is ample and they don't need to do it. I don't know. I have asked our friends at Yamaha actually just this morning, and I'm waiting to hear back, but I wouldn't be surprised if they don't update it. Right? I wouldn't be surprised. It's a bit of a shame. I'm just checking for other questions before we go. Now, it's been quite a lot of questions, and you probably don't want to sit here watching me going through them all, so I will make an effort to get back to everybody. I'm just skipping through looking for specific questions. VBDX66, could you show us the MIDI recorder? Again, I will. You can record on here on MIDI, and you can record as audio. That I think I'll have to do in a different video, because it's just going to take, I'll have to go into such detail on it. I'll do it in another video. It's a bit of a long answer, that's the problem. Let me see, any other questions? Oh, and Style Creator as well as another question. Chris, have you covered the Style Creator in other videos? No, I haven't, but I was using Style Creator at home recently, and it's really good fun. And yes, I am going to cover Style Creator on this and also the PSR SX900, because if you're a creative person and you want to write music, Style Creator is brilliant, because you're not sort of set in the parameters that the preset styles give to you. You can really mix them up and change the sounds and change the tempos and the patterns that are playing. It's really good fun, and I will do it in one of the videos soon. Terence Parker, can you save banks of registrations or just the 4 on the keyboard? Let's have a top shot of the keyboard quickly, Charlie. Registration memories referring to here, which David's previous live stream covered, and the answer, Terence, is you're not limited to just the 4. You can in fact save multiple banks of those, and indeed that's what the bank button here refers to. I've got, those are my synth pad ones that I've just made. That's David's from the other day. Each time I change these, this will load up a different set of 4 over in the buttons this way. So no, you can change, and it's virtually unlimited, Terence. You can save as many as you like. Amazing Media, thanks for watching. Amazing, welcome, by the way. You've joined us right at the end, I think, or certainly asked your question right at the end. How does the CFX tone compared with the CLP ranges? CFX. Well, I've got to say that the piano on here, the CFX, by the way, if anyone doesn't know, is the main piano sound. There's a Yamaha concert grand piano that's called the Yamaha CFX Concert Grand, and that's the main piano that Yamaha use on all of their digital instruments, digital pianos. It's that piano that's sampled. How does it compare to the CLP models? Well, I was so impressed with this one. I was so impressed. I'm just going to play it a little bit all by itself. The Yamaha, this is the piano you get when you first turn it on. It's really good. It's the best one they've ever made for a DGX, and because it uses this technology called virtual resonance modeling, whereby when I play just a single note, what's playing back to me is not just a single string that's been sampled, but also the neighboring strings in a concert grand piano. So I'm getting all sorts of what's called sympathetic resonance from different piano strings within the cabinet. And if you're a sensitive player, you can really reap the benefit of that. Is it as good as the Clavinovas? Probably not when you get to the sort of CLP 645, 745 and 775 upwards, because then you start to get a mightily good speaker and amplifier array, which makes all the difference. And then upwards from there to the 785, which is just a different kettle of fish altogether, with its whole speaker array. Okay. I'm coming to the end of it now. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and please, if you could, just below the video, please give us the thumbs up on YouTube. It really, really helps us. If this video has been useful to us, please give a little thumbs up down there. It does help us. And we'll be back on Tuesday next week with David. And let me, yeah, it is nice, isn't it, Andy? Let me just say goodbye to everybody, and I'll play a little bit of piano as I go. And thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you at the next one.